The company discarded me like a worn-out tool once the project was finished. The boss thought it would be cheaper to hire a fresh newbie for maintenance. But what he didn't realize is that with the constant changes to the requirements, and the bugs piling on top of bugs in the code, it's not just anyone who can handle that mess. Sure enough, the moment I left, the system crashed. When HR told me they were letting me go, I was stunned. Just last week, I wrapped up a key project I was in charge of. And the product launched successfully. The boss himself said he'd give a bonus to everyone in the project team and even patted me on the back, calling me a hero. Now, just days later, this so-called hero was getting cut. HR's face was unreadable. The compensation you owed will be given in full. Please complete your exit procedures today. It was as if they were doing me some kind of favor. I'd been at EtherTech for exactly a year. The compensation was at most 2 months' salary. But it wasn't just about the money, it was the backstabbing. The feeling of being discarded like I never mattered. When they hired me, it was right at the start of the project. The AI application market was booming, and EtherTech wanted to integrate AI into their products to stay competitive. I happened to have experience in developing and deploying AI models, so I jumped in and threw myself into the project with a few other colleagues. In a small company, job responsibilities aren't clear-cut. You end up doing the work of 5 people, but I didn't complain. The year was grueling. That's for sure. But I never expected this. After the product was launched, I'd be the first one to get cut. The irony? Just last night, I was burning the midnight oil, staying up past 2 a.m. to address the flaws in the project so we could optimize it going forward. When I got back to my desk, my manager, Alex, was talking to some others. When he saw me, he casually said, "George, don't take this too personally. This is just normal company restructuring. I am sure you understand." I didn't understand a damn thing. The other team members seemed to already know I was being laid off. Their faces showing a bit of awkwardness. I didn't miss the smug flash in Alex's eyes. He'd probably been waiting for this day all along. Although Alex is the technical manager, he has many of the same flaws as other leaders. He doesn't understand the technology but still loves to boss people around. EtherTech main business is digital dental services, and before I came on board, there were already plenty of issues with the system framework. Because of the constant changes in requirements and the tight project deadlines, there was never enough time for development or testing. On top of that, Alex loved to issue random orders, making the architecture more and more complicated and chaotic. Soon enough, various problems started cropping up. The components became bloated, the code repetitive, and the logic all tangled up. Every new requirement change only added more bugs on top of the existing ones, like telling one lie and then needing more lies to cover it up. This is how EtherTech's business kept going. If we were to integrate AI directly, it's hard to imagine how difficult maintenance would be in the future. That's why, before starting the new project, I raised the issue of changing the framework more than once. But Alex refused. He thought it would slow the project down significantly and that it wasn't necessary. Aren't there AI models available already? Just use those. Rewriting the framework? You've got to be kidding. The company's paying you such a high salary, and this is the kind of bad idea you come up with? I couldn't win the argument, so I had to go along with it. Sure enough, when the new project started, the old framework didn't meet the current needs, and problems, both expected and unexpected, came pouring in one after another. With a sense of responsibility toward the project and the company, I frequently disagreed with Alex. Several times, we had intense arguments during meetings. When he was furious, he'd yell, "Stop coming up with excuses. What framework conflict? What incompatibility? If something goes wrong, just reflect on yourself." Looking back now, I realize he'd probably had enough of me, his disobedient subordinate, by that point. But what he didn't understand was that, even though the product was launched, there were far too many hidden risks. Only I, the disobedient employee, knew just how many issues were in the new project, and only I knew how to prevent them in the future operations. Alex told me, "Organize your handover materials and give them to me by the end of today." After that, he returned to his office. I had already submitted my work logs, development processes, and deployment documentation well in advance. Since I hadn't started a new task, there wasn't really anything to hand over. That's why the company felt comfortable firing me so suddenly. Several colleagues from the team sent me messages, most of them just offering some words of comfort. Sherry, who was in charge of testing and the colleague I got along with best, was especially angry. I saw Alex secretly talking to HR a few days ago. I didn't know what they were discussing, but now I see, it's all about you. You were the most important person on the project. How can the company do this to you? Are they crazy? I replied, yeah. They are definitely crazy. They figured that since the project was finished, there was no reason to keep me around, they could just hire someone cheaper for maintenance. I sent Alex a summary document. Mr. Alex, please let me know if you see any issues. Alex replied immediately, looks good, that's fine. He didn't even bother to read it. When I went to get his signature, he said, with a smile, that he'd miss working with me, but looked so happy about it. George, before you leave, here's a piece of advice. Don't think just because you good at technology. You something special. For a company, the last thing we short on is people who can get the work done. If you don't change that arrogant attitude of yours, you won't last anywhere. I shot back, you right. He sneered, putting on that insufferable I am the bigger person expression. I didn't bother saying anything else. I turned and walked away. The next day, I was woken up by my alarm at 8:30 a.m. I threw off the blanket and suddenly remembered, I didn't have to go to work anymore. My phone buzzed with a new email. I opened it, and the sleepiness vanished instantly. Hello. Mr. George. I am Marcus, CEO of NeuroSync Technologies. My team and I came across your work on GitHub over the past few years, particularly your AI application in Alzheimer's detection, which aligns perfectly with what we're trying to achieve. We'd like to sincerely invite you to join our team, and we look forward to hearing from you. Alzheimer's disease, or senile dementia, was the focus. I had uploaded a few of my personal projects on GitHub out of interest. What was going on here? On my first day of unemployment, before I even started sending out resumes, an offer just fell into my lap. I quickly searched NeuroSync Technologies and CEO Marcus online. There wasn't much information on the company, but Marcus was quite the figure. Marcus, a PhD graduate from Duke University, had been dedicated to research in computer vision for years. His personal website was filled with open-source projects he'd independently developed during his academic years. With my sharp professional eye, I could tell right away, he was the real deal. A technical expert. I was a bit taken aback. I hadn't expected someone like him to notice my projects on GitHub. For a moment, I felt a little flattered. But I didn't know much about his company, so of course, I couldn't just agree right away. I replied to the email, expressing my interest in discussing the opportunity further and included my phone number. As soon as I hit send, I got a message from Sherry. George, guess what? A new guy just started today. From what Alex said, he's going to be maintaining our project. Can you believe it? A freshly graduated intern. Yeah. Because everyone knows fresh grads are the cheapest. Ugh, kicking you out and replacing you with someone cheaper, they all idiots. I chuckled. Alex had really lost it, hadn't he? This was one of the company's key projects. There was no way they could bring in an intern, fresh out of school, to maintain it. Was he really that stupid, or was he just overly confident in the code I'd written? Either way, I didn't care anymore. Because Marcus was calling me. I was about to exchange pleasantries, but Marcus cut to the chase. Are you in Paris? Yes. Tomorrow's Saturday, would it be possible to meet for lunch? You pick the place. The call lasted less than a minute, and just like that, we had agreed to meet at a restaurant near my place tomorrow. Not a single wasted word. Was this efficiency? Sherry was still giving me live updates. The intern's going through the documents you left behind. I can tell from the look on his face he's struggling. The boss said that after the AI detection went live, user engagement shot up. He was praising Alex to no end. You should have seen him smile, his face was all wrinkled. I couldn't help but imagine Alex's smile, and Sherry's comparison was spot on. I nearly spit out the water I just swallowed. The next day, I met Marcus at the restaurant. Maybe it was some kind of unspoken understanding between programmers, but we hit it off instantly. NeuroSync Technologies was a company Marcus had founded just a year ago, focused on applying AI in the medical field. They already secured 2 rounds of funding. By the time Alzheimer's is diagnosed, too many neurons in the brain have already died, making it nearly impossible to reverse. But if the disease is detected early, it can be managed with medication, and with early intervention, we can help patients improve cognitive function and delay clinical progression by 10 to 15 years. So, what we're trying to do now is to help people detect it at the earliest stages. The excitement around AI in various industries was no secret. And what Marcus wanted to do was groundbreaking in itself. Also been exploring this field out of personal interest. But what captivated me was the light in his eyes as he spoke about it. The restaurant was bustling, people discussing salaries, mortgages, getting married, having kids. But the man in front of me, passionately talking about revolutionizing human healthcare, seemed like such an anomaly in this scene. Yet, I felt a deep resonance with him. As we were about to finish, I reminded him, "Mr. Marcus, you haven't asked me any technical questions at all." Marcus chuckled. "The projects on your GitHub speak for themselves. I've also looked through your code, and our team really needs someone like you. People who know what they're talking about are on another level. You're too kind. But I have one last small question, do you always discover talent by searching online?" Marcus laughed heartily. "Of course not, but this is fate. Sitting here together today is fate. If we can work together in the future, that will be a perfect outcome. Alex would only think that it was a privilege for us to be employed by the company, and that the company offering us a job was a great favor. We should be grateful to the company. The difference between people is even bigger than the difference between people and dogs." The day I joined NeuroSync Technologies, the team of less than 10 people held a small welcome party for me. I exchanged social media accounts with my new colleagues, and just then, a stranger sent me a friend request. Without thinking, I accepted it. "Mr. Alex asked me to check with you, why did the image library version suddenly become incompatible?" I immediately realized it was the intern Alex had hired. Not only was he rude, but his question was also all over the place. And since EtherTech wasn't paying me anymore, why should I care if the versions were compatible? It wasn't like I was still responsible for after-sales service after getting fired. I didn't hesitate, I deleted him. No more than 2 minutes later, Alex's call came through. I thought for a moment before answering. "George, what's going on? You're just leaving the company, and now you want to sever ties? Is it really necessary to be like this over such a small issue? Let me tell you, leave some room for others, and we'll meet again in the future." His scolding tone made it seem like I was still one of his subordinates. "Mr. Alex, I really can't help you. You know how complicated the code is. When issues arise, they have to be checked one by one. I can just diagnose it remotely." I kept my tone polite, but my refusal was crystal clear. Alex was left speechless. To be honest, I had a pretty good guess as to why he was calling. EtherTech system framework was outdated, and many of the latest algorithm libraries couldn't just be updated on a whim. Upgrades had to be carefully tested and adjusted. If someone unfamiliar with the project tried to upgrade it recklessly, they would definitely run into trouble. But my mouth was on my face, and if I said I didn't know, that meant I didn't know. What could he do about it? If he was so good, he could just jump into my head and see for himself. He probably wanted to say more. But I didn't have the patience for his nonsense. "Mr. Alex, I am busy over here, so I'll have to cut this short. Goodbye." Since joining NeuroSync Technologies, I've truly felt what it's like to work with a group of intelligent people. It's incredibly refreshing. Thanks to Marcus's brilliant technical background, he's able to guide the team with an exceptional understanding of the overall technical direction, as well as making wise choices in technology selection and problem solving, something Alex could never match. The other colleagues are equally transparent and highly cooperative. I absolutely love my new work environment and the new project I am handling. After my first day at work, I was scrolling through social media on my way home when I saw Alex had posted something. Project encountered issues, and the team and I worked tirelessly to troubleshoot. We worked through lunch and dinner, but hard work paid off, and we finally solved it. Kudos to us. We don't leave today's problems for tomorrow. This is the EtherTech speed. This is the indomitable spirit of EtherTech. It was just a small bug. If people didn't know any better, they'd think he'd solved some monumental problem, like landing on the moon. I hope he keeps being so confident. The next day, Marcus suddenly asked me if I had a passport. Yes. I wondered why he was asking. Marcus smiled. Get a business visa. Next month, we're going to the Cleveland Clinic. Oh. Wait, what? Cleveland Clinic. I knew it. It's one of the most renowned brain hospitals in the world. I had heard that they store a large amount of brain imaging data from Alzheimer's patients. What's even more impressive is that they have early-stage imaging data for many of those patients. The biggest challenge in applying AI to healthcare is data. Different hospitals, different testing equipment, and varying parameters can lead to significant discrepancies in imaging data, which makes training AI models much harder. The projects I did on GitHub used open-source data, most of which was outdated and limited in quantity. But if NeuroSync Technologies could gain access to the valuable historical imaging data from Cleveland, it would make a huge difference in training the AI model. I was excited and immediately nodded. Okay, I'll go apply right away. The longer I stayed at NeuroSync Technologies, the more I realized how much time I had wasted at EtherTech. Leaving EtherTech had been the right decision. While waiting for my visa, Sherry sent me another funny update. Mind-blowing. I still don't know how Alex managed to hire this guy. He deleted a few lines from the logs, and the program crashed. Everyone was confused and thought it was some mystical event. Guess what? Turns out that intern used the stuff in the logs as input. I can even. Alex, to prove that replacing you with a cheaper new hire was the right move, kept praising that kid in front of the boss. Today. He made a huge mess. He had a dark face all day. Ha ha ha. I couldn't help but laugh. Logs are typically used to monitor the program's status and debug issues, not for input. I've never heard of such a thing. Getting slapped in the face by his favorite personal must have been embarrassing for Alex. But the worst part was still to come. The day Marcus and I were set to leave, I got another call from Alex at the airport. His tone sounded anxious. George, I am calling you this time because I hope you can put aside your personal feelings and emotions. And let's have a proper conversation. Mr. Alex, I am not sure what you want to discuss, but if you mind that I have emotions, we don't have to talk. There was a brief silence on the other end. Alex seemed to be suppressing his anger. We're redeploying a system for a client right now, and we're following the deployment document step by step. Why isn't it working? I don't know. Is it a network issue, or is it a configuration problem? I am not on site. How would I know? Alex's tone suddenly became agitated. How could you not know? You wrote the deployment document. Didn't you? I did, but there's nothing wrong with it. When they deployed it for the client back then, it worked fine. Nice try, but I am not taking the fall for this. Every time a new feature is added, unexpected issues can arise. My refusal to cooperate pushed Alex over the edge. He yelled at me through the phone, George. What's your attitude? The company may have fired you, but it doesn't owe you anything. You've been paid the salary and compensation you owed. Now, just because there are some leftover issues, you dragging your feet? Do you think you being fair to the company that trained you? EtherTech trained me? What a load of nonsense. Were they even qualified to say that? They treated me like a clueless new graduate. Mr. Alex, say whatever you want, but I am about to board my flight. I am hanging up now. Wait a minute. Alex, afraid I would hang up, spoke faster. George, you've really got some guts. You going on a trip, huh? Haven't found a new job yet, have you? These days, companies do background checks on recruits. You wouldn't want your new company to call me and hear anything bad, would you? Trying to threaten me. I deliberately softened my tone. Mr. Alex, there's really no need to do this. When I was at EtherTech, I always put in my best effort. Hearing this, Alex thought I was actually worried about him sabotaging me behind my back, and he immediately became smug again. As long as you cooperate and fix this problem, you have nothing to worry about. Now I really need to take off. Let's talk after my flight, alright? Hey. I hung up. Alex tried calling me again. But I simply turned off my phone. Marcus was deeply focused on reading documents during the flight. I put my phone away and didn't plan on telling him about any of this, not yet, at least. This trip was to represent NeuroSync Technologies in discussing a project partnership with the Cleveland Clinic. They would provide the data, and we would provide the technology. Of course, not everyone has this kind of opportunity. NeuroSync Technologies had this chance purely because the head of imaging at Cleveland was a friend of Marcus. When we landed, my phone started buzzing non-stop. Messages popping up one after another. It was all from Sherry. Today, the client was really unhappy and filed a complaint directly to the boss. The boss was furious and scolded Alex in front of the whole company. After the boss left, Alex blew up at us and called everyone useless. I think he's the useless one. What an idiot. Check out the social media post he made. He's completely throwing dirt at you. Good thing you already found a new job. You don't have to worry about him anymore. I clicked on the screenshots Sherry sent me. Alex had posted on social media. A certain employee repeatedly refused to follow task instructions, nitpicked, and harbored resentment after leaving the company. This person took advantage of their position and intentionally tampered with relevant documents, causing the failure of the deployment. He strongly condemns people with no professional ethics, and EtherTech reserves the right to pursue legal action. A certain employee that's clearly me. First, he slanders me, then dumps the blame on me. And to top it off, Alex blocked me. So I couldn't even see that post myself. What a complete scoundrel. I replied to Sherry, so, what's the current situation? Alex went to the site too. The client is really upset now. They're re-questioning the reliability of our product since the deployment is such a hassle. The company is planning to attend the AI Expo at the end of the month, and the boss wants to add more features to the product. But this delay has slowed down progress, so he gave Alex a huge scolding. If you were still there, I am sure there wouldn't be any of this nonsense. By the way, after he slanders you like this, can you really just swallow your pride? Of course, I couldn't let this guy off easily. I sent Alex a message. I think I figured out the possible reason for the deployment failure. He replied instantly, what is it? I was going to tell you, but then I saw a social media post and got really upset, so I forgot. Alex didn't reply. About 10 minutes later, he finally responded, George, I was wrong. I was just so angry, and when I couldn't reach you, I said some things without thinking. Please don't take it to heart. I've already deleted the post. And as for the legal action thing, don't worry. That's not happening. Well, now that you say that, I feel much better. Now, can you tell me what went wrong? I held back a laugh and typed quickly. Mr. Alex, could it be the network issue? That's the reason you came up with? Yes, I did say possible reasons. An unstable network could definitely cause deployment failures. Alex lost it. George, you messing with me? Yep. Exactly. Messing with you. Deal with it. I heard that in the end, Alex fired the intern and hired someone more experienced to fix the issue. While it didn't cause any major damage, he definitely lost some reputation with the client. And the boss would certainly remember that. Alex's disgusting tactics didn't affect me in the slightest. Marcus and I rested at the hotel for the night and then energetically headed to the Cleveland Clinic the next day. Marcus asked me to introduce the technical details of our project. I wasn't shy at all. I confidently explained everything, from framework construction, data cleaning, to model training. I went through the entire process step by step. Any questions or doubts were answered smoothly. At the end of the meeting, the head of Cleveland shook Marcus's hand and said the cooperation was a pleasure. Marcus pointed to me. Rest assured, our team is outstanding. We will definitely not disappoint you. I hope that through our joint efforts, we can make a meaningful contribution to human health with innovative ideas. Marcus nodded at me, almost as if to say, thanks to you. In that moment, I was a bit moved. He gave me the spotlight. Something that would never have happened at EtherTech. Alex was a results-oriented guy who didn't care about the process. Whenever I encountered a problem in a project and reported it to him, he would always look impatient and never offered any constructive suggestions or substantial help. When the team needed resource support, he'd just say it wasn't necessary to bother the boss with such minor issues. But as soon as there was any progress, he'd immediately report to the boss to take credit. Once the project succeeded, he took most of the credit for himself. If things worked out, It was because of his excellent leadership. If something went wrong, it was because the team was incompetent. So when this guy had problems, I didn't feel sorry for him at all. After signing the cooperation agreement with the Cleveland Clinic, Marcus and I stayed for another week, carefully reviewing their historical data. Thousands of imaging cases, covering clinical diagnoses, treatment methods, lifestyle habits, family medical history, and more. The most valuable part was the large number of images from patients who had undergone checks several years ago. To make comparisons with healthy individuals, Cleveland also promised to provide us with a substantial number of brain images from healthy populations. Marcus and I couldn't stop smiling. All we had to do now was wait for Cleveland Clinic to open the data access portal. When we returned to Paris, it was already midnight. After a few hours of sleep, I jumped out of bed and headed straight to work. Marcus was already in the office. When he saw me, there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. "George, didn't I give you a day off?" I was already setting up my computer as I spoke. "The Cleveland Clinic data is ready for download today." I couldn't sleep just thinking about it. "Mr. Marcus, I am sure you feel the same way." Marcus smiled knowingly. "If everything goes smoothly, we should have the demo ready by the end of this month. Then, it can be showcased at the AI Expo alongside other products." The AI Expo. That sounded familiar. Right, wasn't EtherTech also planning to attend? We didn't speak any further. Both of us focusing on our work. At EtherTech, we were busy too, but back then, it felt like hard labor, entirely driven by responsibility. But at NeuroSync Technologies, I could clearly feel my love for this job. Every day, I was fully engaged, pouring 100% of my enthusiasm into it. The busy days flew by, and soon, the end of the month was here. Sherry seemed busy too. We hadn't chatted for over half a month. The next time I saw her, it was at the AI Expo. And, of course, Alex was there too. Alex saw me too. Clearly still holding a grudge from the last time I tricked him. He immediately started with a sarcastic tone. "This is an exhibition, not a job fair. Some people must be in the wrong place." Since all the exhibitors were wearing their company badges, I hadn't had the chance to take mine out of my bag yet, so Alex assumed I was just a visitor. Sherry secretly rolled her eyes at him, then boldly greeted me. We walked to a quieter spot to talk. Alex is like a ticking time bomb right now. Apparently, because of what happened last time, the boss was very unhappy with Alex. When the boss yelled at Alex, Alex yelled at his subordinates. The new hires couldn't handle the pressure and kept making mistakes, causing delays in the project. The boss even publicly questioned Alex, asking why the tech department had become a mess just because one person was laid off. He asked whether Alex could still lead the team properly. That was essentially hitting Alex in his weak spot. The last thing he wanted to admit was that the department actually couldn't function without me. To save face and prove he wasn't wrong in front of the boss, Alex took the initiative to suggest adding a new feature to the product, AI-assisted diagnosis. He even promised the boss it would go live by the end of the month. I frowned when I heard that. Could AI-assisted diagnosis really be done in half a month? What was Alex thinking? This feature was something I had started at EtherTech but left unfinished. With the conditions at the time, there was simply no way to continue it. Forcing it to launch would only disrupt other core functionalities. Not to mention, the accuracy of the diagnosis was embarrassingly low and wasn't presentable at all. Alex had thrown a fit back then, accusing me of making excuses to avoid work. I asked Sherry, did they really manage to get it done? She rolled her eyes. They pushed it live last night, but they only did some module testing. I think it's risky, but the boss is thrilled. They launched it without overall testing. Honestly, I almost wanted to praise Alex for his reckless ignorance. I even suspected that he had just used the half-finished product I worked on. That was a ticking time bomb. NeuroSync Technologies' booth was conveniently located near EtherTech's. Alex was busy introducing products to others, completely unaware that I had walked right past him. He proudly announced, other competitors have only made it to the AI detection stage. We made the breakthrough with AI-assisted diagnosis. I can confidently say that currently, only EtherTech product has this feature, which will drastically improve the diagnostic efficiency of oral doctors. This was a huge expo, with people from all industries, buyers, and even some government officials. It was an excellent opportunity for promotion. With fewer people from the company, everyone was helping out at the venue. NeuroSync Technologies was different from other software service providers in the market. We specialized only in brain-related diseases, so our booth quickly attracted a lot of attention. After explaining for 2 hours intermittently, it was almost noon, and the crowd began to thin out. I finally got a break and grabbed a drink. When I looked up, I saw a group of men in suits walking toward EtherTech's booth. And the person accompanying them, grinning and bowing, wasn't that my former boss, Jake. "Mr. Miller, it's truly an honor to have you visit our booth." The middle-aged man standing in the center smiled faintly. Jake gave Alex a look. Alex immediately understood, smiling as he said, "Mr. Miller, let me introduce our product to you." Mr. Miller raised his hand, signaling that it wasn't necessary, then pointed at the words, "Assisted Diagnosis," on the poster. "Why don't you just demonstrate it? It'll be more direct." Alex hesitated, his expression suddenly becoming awkward. He forced a smile. "Perhaps I'll just give you a verbal explanation, Mr. Miller. The venue is crowded today, and the network might not be very stable. I wouldn't want to keep everyone waiting." Miller glanced at Jake. Jake smiled, but his tone had a trace of displeasure. "Alex, what are you waiting for? Get on with it." "Oh, okay, I was really curious. I wanted to see what the product Alex had managed to put together in half a month actually looked like." Luckily, everyone at EtherTech was focused on the computer in front of Alex and the large screen behind him, so no one noticed me blending in with the crowd. Alex was explaining as he operated the system. "After logging in with a doctor's account, you can find the patient data here. Then, right-click to bring up a menu. We offer several AI services. For periodontal disease, pulp disease, and orthodontics, we have corresponding intelligent services, like measurement, automatic recognition, etc." Mr. Miller interrupted him. "We don't need to hear all that. I want to see your new feature in action." Alex couldn't avoid it any longer, so he selected a case and clicked the Diagnosis button from the menu. Everyone stared at the screen, waiting. The progress bar moved from 0% to 10%, 20%, 30%. I had to admit, the speed was painfully slow. When it reached 40%, the progress bar stopped. Alex remained silent, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Jake quickly chimed in, "It must be a network issue. Under normal circumstances, our product processes in milliseconds." Just as he finished speaking, a dialog box popped up on the screen, "Unknown error." The crowd, which had been eagerly watching, let out a collective sigh of disappointment. Alex looked increasingly flustered. He closed the dialog box and clicked the Diagnosis button again. This time, the progress didn't even reach 40%. Instead, an error message popped up immediately. Mr. Miller cleared his throat and said to Jake, "It seems like you still have some work to do. We'll go take a look at the other booths for now." Jake was mortified. Among the crowd, there were occasionally colleagues from the industry. And I overheard someone mutter, "They're just using unfinished products to make a splash. This is outright deceiving." Alex's face turned red with embarrassment. The crowd slowly dispersed. Jake's expression changed multiple times, but in the end, he didn't say anything, simply storming off with a flick of his hand. I had already walked behind the display board when I heard Sherry's panicked voice coming from behind. "Alex, something's wrong. The marketing team just sent a message saying that after a lot of customers updated their systems this morning, the backend started malfunctioning." Alex, already in a bad mood, became even more irritable when he heard the news. "What happened?" "Just have operations handle it. Some clients can display images, others can upload data, and some lost their access permissions. In short, operations say the problem is too complicated to fix on their own and need the development team to help. And there are still more customers calling to complain." Alex wobbled and almost fell over. It had finally arrived. EtherTech couldn't withstand Alex's reckless handling any longer. I almost felt sorry for him. At lunch with colleagues, Alex, of course, called me again. This time, I didn't pick up. Of course, Alex wasn't going to give up. He started sending me messages frantically. "George, pick up the phone, I need to talk to you. The company has decided to offer you a return with the same benefits. What do you think? Finding a job like this is tough. Especially with the wave of layoffs." It's going to be really hard to find something at the same level as before. I still didn't respond. When Alex didn't hear back from me, he lost it. George, please pick up the phone. It's urgent. I am really in a crisis here. Please, I am begging you. Sorry, begging help. I was too busy. After a few hurried bites of lunch, I quickly headed to the venue with my colleagues. Just as I was approaching the NeuroSync Technologies booth, I nearly bumped into Alex, who was rushing out. His eyes lit up when he saw me. And he hurried to grab me. George. You came to find me, right? Perfect, come with me. I need to tell you, I shook him off. Mr. Alex, what are you talking about? I am here for work. It has nothing to do with you. Alex didn't believe it. He thought I was just playing hard to get. Clenching his teeth, he leaned in close to my ear and almost pleaded, fine, I promise, if you come back, I'll give you an extra $2,000 a month. I'll even promote you to team leader. I couldn't help but laugh, almost in disbelief. Who would care about your few crumbs? Just then, Marcus called me from across the booth. George, you just in time. Come and introduce your new project to Mr. Miller and the others. The leaders who were at the EtherTech booth earlier were now standing at NeuroSync Technologies booth, looking at me with eager eyes. Sure. I walked past the stunned Alex. Marcus boomed, this is George. Our Chief Technology Officer at NeuroSync Technologies. He's currently leading the Alzheimer's project. I greeted the leaders and smoothly began my presentation. We applied cutting-edge image processing technology and artificial intelligence algorithms, combined with standard clinical brain MRI and top-tier cognitive evaluations from doctors. Currently, we built a predictive model for the progression from mild cognitive impairment, primarily forgetfulness, to Alzheimer's dementia. Meanwhile, Alex had completely turned to stone. Frozen in place. When Mr. Miller finished watching our demo, he gave it high praise. He patted me on the shoulder, great job, keep it up. In time, I believe NeuroSync Technologies will definitely be the brightest new star in the industry. I don't know when Alex left. By the time I finished my work, he was nowhere to be seen. EtherTech had suffered an unprecedented crisis this time, its system was completely down, and nearly all operations were at a standstill. User complaints were pouring in non-stop. Jake personally called me, begging me to help resolve the crisis. But I still turned him down. It wasn't because I held a grudge. First, the two companies were, in some ways, competitors now, which made it inconvenient for me to help. Second, who knows what other mess Alex had gotten himself into. I couldn't guarantee that if I went, be able to fix it. Worst case, they might even think I wasn't putting in enough effort on purpose. Third, since I had been laid off. Whatever happened to EtherTech afterward was no longer my concern. EtherTech had to hire two top tech experts at a high price. Their salaries were more than 3 times what I used to earn there. After the system was fixed, EtherTech didn't just lose a lot of customers, they also faced enormous compensation costs, which put an even heavier strain on the company's already struggling finances. Employees, fearing the company would collapse one day, started quitting left and right. Sherry also switched jobs, and she told me about Alex's later situation. After the system was repaired, EtherTech's first move was to let him go. Actually, letting go isn't quite right. It was more of a forced resignation. After all, he had caused such a massive loss to the company that it was only fair for him to step down. If they fired him, they'd have to pay him compensation according to labor laws, and Jake definitely didn't want that. Sherry sighed, it all started when Alex fired you, you know. Firing someone in such a critical position, it's like cutting an artery. It's no surprise they heading for disaster. I smiled, cut an artery, and they bound to die.